This farm here, it's 850 cows, 300 hectares. We're in the lower South Island of New Zealand, just outside of Invercargill. We get about 1200 millimetres of rain a year, maybe 2 snowfall events. They don't really settle for long, and we're about 10 metres above sea level here, so reasonably low in altitude. So we're system 3 on the Dairy NZ system chart. These cows get about 350 kilos of supplement in the shed and a wee bit of baleage fed out during the shoulders of spring and autumn, but negligible amounts of baleage. If we start from calving, we milk all our new colostrum cows once a day for 5 days, and then when they're fit to supply into the main vat, we milk our main herd twice a day through till Christmas. Once we've finished A-B'ing them, and then we go on to what we call a variable milking time. So each week it's consistent, but the Monday we do 2 milkings, conventional, 5 AM and then 3 PM cups on. Tuesdays 8:30 in the morning, and then Wednesdays back to your 5 and 3. Thursday 8:30, Fridays your 5 AM, 3 PM, and then that's where it changes in the weekends. We only milk once a day. So we do cups on at 7:30 on a Saturday morning, and then 6:30 on a Sunday morning, then we're back to the 5 AM on the Monday morning. So it's a 10 and 7, we do 10 milkings in 7 days.
For us it's all positive. If there had been a detrimental effect we wouldn't have carried on with it. We trialled it and enjoyed it, and there was more positives than there was negatives to discontinue, so that's why we have carried on with it. The benefits we've seen is cows aren't getting so much walking time, which less lameness, they can put more condition on, especially at this time of year heading into the winter time. It's nice to get some weight on the cows prior to wintering. Also the team love it, they're not in the shed all day and they get variable jobs throughout the day, and there's so much variety on a dairy farm that they can do other than milking.
We're in the South Waikato in a place called Tirau in New Zealand, and topography's rather hilly, undulating. I don't have a flat paddock on the farm, but we bought the farm in June 2019 after 10 years 50-50 share milking, and we've got 265 cows here. It's 120 hectares but about 100 effective. It's a challenging farm, I'll put it that way. In the last year we've changed a few different things, and we ran a normal twice a day system, milking in the morning and afternoon from spring at calving time through till about the 23rd of December, just before Christmas. And then we changed over to 16-hour milking at that stage. And I was given quite a lot of advice out there and did a fair bit of homework, and the recommendation was to go early before it gets too hot here. So January, February, March are tough. We're normally brown, even though we look green at the moment. We've only just recently got green. So we changed over to 16-hour milking. So we basically milked once in the morning at 5:30 in the morning, and then we're quite flexible in the afternoon, so we milked roughly at normally about 5:30 at night. There is a lot of variances with that, and some people milk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, some people do the proper 16 hours and actually milk at about 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then we'll do one the next day at 11 AM.
I'm a dairy farmer in Hamilton North in the Waikato. My husband and I have been farming this property for 9 years. We've traditionally had share milkers on this farm. This is the first year we've come home to the farm full-time ourselves, and we're currently once a day milking.
It's 75 hectares total, 67 effective. We've milked 230 cows this year, so it's about a stocking rate of 3.4 cows per hectare. Farm average is about 75,000 milk solids. And this is the first season this year as we've come onto the farm to milk once a day right from the start.
So my husband and I, and it was a family decision, decided to have a go at once a day milking. It's been a system that's been around in New Zealand for quite a few years, but more and more farmers are starting to take it up now. So we looked at the opportunities that it offered us as a family and decided from a lifestyle perspective it was a really good way for us to go. For the last 20 years we've been building our business up through farm managing and share milking to get ourselves to the point that we were in a financial position to be able to go once a day milking, and decided that coming up to our own farm to run that system was the best way to go.
The biggest thing was actually climate initially. Summer's tough here, so we wanted to look after the cows, we wanted to look after their condition and maintain production, which it did. Somatics did go up from changing, and the cows themselves, they were a little bit, they weren't too sure about the hours at first, but after a couple of weeks they knew no difference, so that worked quite well. Being able to milk outside of the heat of the summer, that's been critical, so that's been good for staff and cows, so that's the big one. I guess milk, at the end of the day, you've got to do it because you want to put money in the bank and pay off some debt, so production has been able to, we've been able to maintain production, so that's probably been the big thing, is that maintain production and just try to keep going as long as we can.
If you talk to our staff, they just appreciate the fact they don't have to be in those hot summer days milking in the afternoon. If we only want them to work to lunchtime, we can. So got a lot of flexibility like that. It's really attractive for staff, I think, going forward. Colin Holmes, who was a tutor of mine at Massey University, he predicted it's going to be the way of the future for dairy farming in New Zealand and for staff to come through the system, yeah.
So from a financial perspective, I suppose going into this with open eyes, you certainly wouldn't want to be highly debted, and it will be hugely variable across all farms and depending on the actual situation of the farmer. For us, we came into it in a debt-free position, and we had run our share milking businesses to allow us to go down a once-a-day road just because we weren't sure what the profitability would look like at the end of the day. That profitability has actually been really good for us this year. We are getting a good farm payout. This is going to be one of our highest years for farm payout over the last 10 years. And that really does help quite a bit from a once-a-day milking perspective. However, we are importing a lot less feed into the system. So from an inputs perspective, because there's actually less milk going out the gate, to some extent there's actually less feed coming into the system to allow for that. We are hoping this year to do above the average milk production for the farm that we've had over the last 9 years. And we'd budgeted for a $6 milk solid payout with approximately 70,000 kilograms of milk solids. And we're hoping to do better than that on both perspectives. So it's been a win-win from that perspective.
Staff hours have been reduced because on those 8:30 starts, people aren't starting till 8 compared to your 5 a.m s. So as a whole farm business, we'll know at the end of the season, but reduced costs would actually be more beneficial than actually anything that is increasing. So the lifestyle change from the 10 and 7 has been huge, like positive for us, because we can be with our family for a bit longer and do the stuff you enjoy, and also the staff's families, they can get away and spend time with them. And there's a lot of, it's quite easy to mix and match milkings if you can't fit the milking that you're on the roster, because the afternoons and the mornings can be a little bit flexible. It's not hard to get someone in because they haven't done a number of milkings prior to that. And we always try and have it that they only do 1 milking a day, and within that milking they'll only milk 1 herd a day.
I haven't really changed how we graze. We still focus on grazing down to residuals, pre-covers, stuff like that. We don't buy a lot of feed in. If we do it, it'd be because of a drought to fill gaps. We make, grass silage for surplus. I've just fed the cows just like I would have on twice-a-day system, and their intakes and all that. Like, I haven't noticed them not eating less, if you know what I mean. We haven't changed anything like that really. So, but obviously, if you were doing the figures on it, they would be eating less. Yeah.
Being on 10 and 7, we do have different times that they are in the paddock, so we have different intervals, which we've just gone down the track of doing a simple Excel spreadsheet. So just for example, there's 120 squares a day of cows allowed. So break that down to 24 hours. So that's 5 squares an hour. And then you go 5 squares an hour for however many hours the interval is, and that's how many squares you allocate to that herd. So it's really simple. It's just don't overcomplicate it and break it down. We've just broke it down to per hour squares, and they just get allocated like that.
One of the big decisions we made around going once a day milking was primarily so that we actually had more time both off the farm but actually as a family. When you're very much involved, head down, bum up, running a number of dairy farms, you can get very much involved in the day-to-day running of the farm and losing sight of actually where the wider business is going, spending time with your children and all those other things. And for us, it was really, really important with a growing family and our children all having different needs to be able to say, you know what, we can go to rugby, we can spend the afternoon at 3 or 4 children's rugby games and not be worried about tearing home and having to milk cows. And we've been very fortunate this year that we've been able to do that. So for my husband, going along to watch a 4 p.m. touch rugby game in the centre of Hamilton would have just never happened under a twice-a-day system. So it's enabled us to actually spend more time with the family, and that's been really, really valuable.
Going on 10 and 7, we do have more time during the day to do those farm maintenance jobs. A farmer, first year onto the property, there's a lot of unknowns that pop up, and you're usually under the pump and don't have time to do things. So 10 and 7, it's obviously reduced milkings through the week, so you can allocate your time a bit better and get those R&M jobs and those maintenance jobs done that you'd otherwise overlook, which could snowball to become a bigger issue. So there's a lot more time during the day without working extended hours to get those maintenance jobs done and on-farm jobs that need to be done.
Somatic did go up, it's probably the only negative side of it. And then in regards to production, look, it's hard to say, but I mean, look, as far as milk solids go, we're roughly 30,000 milk solids ahead of any farm record or any previous production right at the moment. So we'll do roughly 110,000 milk solids off 100 hectares, but 265 cows. So on a hilly farm, that's we're probably doing all right.
Cell count's been good. We've averaged 86,000 today. Cows at the moment, they're just coming towards drying off, so they're down to about 10 litres a cow, starting to taper off, but their cell count's sitting around 100,000, so we're still pretty happy with that. We sort of expected it to peak up a bit towards the end of the season, but you've got to be monitoring it. Like, we're pretty close monitoring them. Teat spray, obviously once a day. So no, we've been pleased with that side of it. Yeah.
So our cows, they're just a crossbred herd. They're doing about 400 kilos a cow on average. Empty rate this year was 13%, which was 2% higher than last year. And can't really pinpoint it, maybe season specific. And we go on to 10 and 7 at Christmas time. So the body condition score increases coming into winter. And this next year will be quite interesting because last year we didn't do it as early, but this year we've gone 10 and 7 since Christmas. So going into winter, they should be in a better condition score. So calving down in better condition, and therefore hopefully our empty rates will be a little bit lower. 6-week in-calf rate was 67%, and somatic sows at the moment with this 10 and 7 milking regime is sitting around the 200,000. We have had a higher sow count within the herd, sow count issue last year, and then when we went on to 10 and 7 from conventional twice a day, it may have jumped up about 10,000 somatic sows, so not a huge increase of doing the 10 and 7.
So there is a reduction in the milk production, but we haven't noticed it enough of a decrease for us to carry on with the twice a day milking. There's too many positives that have come out, and I guess also there's a lot of those things that you can't see, which there must be so many other benefits that you can't really quantify that have helped us to continue. It's probably more people are interested in the 10 and 7 now, so it has created a little bit of a stir, and there's still a lot of unknowns with it, but we have seen a lot of positives, and hence why we've carried on.
What it does do is give you flexibility. I think you forget when you're milking morning and night all the time, and a lot of the big thing is family too. You know, I've got 2 young girls and a wife that probably hasn't seen me as much as I'd like to over the last 10 years, so 16 hours milking has actually given us a little bit more flexibility and time with the kids, particularly on the 11 o'clock day. You know, we milk at 11 o'clock and then suddenly I've got the you know, we finish up at 1 and suddenly we've got the whole afternoon off, and it's nice for the weekends.
Yeah, we're really enjoying the once a day system at the moment. So, I mean, obviously it's only our first year, but we do know of other farmers that have been doing it, and they say the first year is the hardest. You see a big production drop. Like I said, we haven't seen that yet, so we don't know what will happen next year. It's only our first year. It has been a good season as well. We have to take that into account. Good spring. So yeah, it's only early days, but we're enjoying it, and it's just giving us the freedom and flexibility we were looking for.
The second thing about once a day milking is actually you can make good profits, and the biggest thing for us is that we had enough of a cash surplus coming out of our business to enable us both to look at other investments going forward, which might be outside of the dairy industry, as well as actually investing in other areas kind of within the business and our time as well.
As far as production goes, we're 46% up for the season based on last year's once a day production. So there was other variables involved, but as far as a financial side of it too, it's been significant. I think if I was to continue twice a day here, it would affect the cow's condition and production too. They just won't be able to carry that milk around with them, and particularly in the heat of the day. So that's probably my biggest advice, is doing it reasonably early while there's still good production on them before the heat gets up. I think do your homework. There is actually plenty of advice out there now. There's plenty of people with a lot of knowledge, and there's many people that have been doing various kinds of different milking systems for many years. I think, as I said before, the cows are very adaptable, and I think we forget that. As humans, we forget that, and I think we as farmers actually struggle, and you know, it takes us a couple of years to get into our head going, oh yeah, maybe we'll give that a go. Just do it, and you'll actually be pleasantly surprised. I think we'll definitely continue with 16 hours for this region, yeah, without a doubt. So it's worked well for us, yeah, and I can't see why it wouldn't work for other people. We've just got to give it a go.
So the advice of going 10 and 7 to change your system, it's not a huge system change. The whole farm policy, all the policies can stay, but it's just literally your milking regimes that change. Feeding cows intake, it all stays the same. So the advice is don't do it too late. You hear of a few people that change 10 and 7 or even 16 hour in March because the cows aren't producing as much, but why not change earlier and get the full benefits of it and have a lot more time from late summer or even, yeah, if you can, through the whole season to get more time to do other things, and you'll still find milk production's negligible, the production loss.
I would say that positives have definitely outweighed the negatives, and just give it a go. You can always go back. But yeah, we enjoy it.